So the last thing that I want to talk about is these camera AA samples. So I'm in my render settings window, I'm in my Arnold Renderer tab, and here are my camera AA settings. When I look at the render in the render view, I can see that this is taking 17 seconds. It is 960 by 540. I'm rendering through the perspective camera. These are my sample settings. I can see green in the render. There's a lot of green in these little lights. It's very speckled. I'm going to hit this camera icon down at the bottom of the window, which will save a snapshot. The snapshot is not saved out of Maya, it is just saved in Maya's memory, and the reason that I'm doing that is that as I turn these camera AA settings up, I want to be able to check and see what my progress is like. Everything in rendering is a constant battle of quality versus time. So this render took 17 seconds. When I take my camera AA number, I want to turn it up slowly, because every time I turn this number up, the render time is going to increase. So it's going to be a balance between how much time I have to spend on this project and what I'm hoping the result looks like. So I'm going to turn this up to 5. The good thing is that I'm only asking you to do one frame. All you need to do is get one really nice looking frame. If you were working on an animation project where you had 120 frames of animation, what you would have to do is balance the number of seconds this thing takes times your 120 frames, and that would give you an idea how long the total render sequence would take. They can take a really long time. As a scalar comparison, Marvel movies use a lot of animation, and they take hundreds if not thousands of hours per frame to render, which seems impossible, but they use a thing called a render farm, which allows you to connect a whole bunch of processors together. So when you take that time and you split it over thousands of processors, you get a reasonable amount of rendering. Okay, so this render took 44 seconds. I'm going to right-click on Snapshot 1, I'm going to set as A, and that gives me a little line across my render. The line has 2 red dots on it. This side is A, this side is B, so this is my 3 sample render that took 17 seconds. This is my 5 sample render that took 44 seconds, and as I move these dots, as I move the line, you can see some of the grain just smoothing out. So yes, the B render, this 44-second render, it took more than twice as long, but it's a lot cleaner. And I bet that if I take the camera AA settings and turn them up to 7, that it would get even smoother. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, but I won't make you watch. So I'm going to set this up to 7, and you should be able to see, when I hit enter, you should be able to see Maya start processing that render. Sample number has gone up. I'm going to pause my recording until the render finishes, and then we'll take a look at that. So I'm back. This render took 1 minute and 25 seconds, and it is pretty darn smooth. So this side is the 3 AA sample, this side is the 7 AA sample. And I think that the 7 AA sample was worth making. I probably should have saved the 5 down so that you could see the comparison of that too. Too late now. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to clear A, which is again in the right-click menu on the snapshot. And now I've just got this beautiful 7 sample render. I think it looks pretty good. Ideally, I would still be moving my camera because I've got this really awkward corner in here, and that does not look good. Otherwise, I think this looks pretty nice. Whenever I am done, whenever you are done, what you want to do is you want to go to File at the top of the render view window and Save Image. When you do, if you have your project set correctly, you should go to your project directory to the images folder, which sounds great. So I'm going to call this one Lit Lantern and say save. And let's see if I've got that directory somewhere nice and easy to locate. It's probably not in downloads. Here it is. Directory, images, and there it is. Looking gorgeous. So this is a nice image that I can take and post to the Canvas discussion board and be very proud of, and show all of my friends and say, ooh, look what I made, it's so shiny, yay, good stuff. So with this tutorial, you learned about the Arnold render view, the physical sky node for general scene lighting, the point light for specific effect lighting. You learned about the AI standard surface material. You learned about the environmental effect, the atmosphere volume and its density. And finally, you learned about AA sample settings so that you could export a very nice image. So I'm sure that you're wondering, with all of that, what is there really left to learn? I'm done with the lantern, so in my next video I'm going to go ahead and start the insect, and we'll see how fancy we can get.